Hey there, here's a demo on control-driven envelopes and how they can create dynamic sounds. I'll take you through how I made this morphing, granular sound with just a few extra parameters. Here's the original sample called Resonant Granite, found in Absynth Spectral Expansion. It sounds like a rocky material being dragged against another rock, and in the background is a bird song. So the idea was to morph into a new bird song. We'll first scan through a sample by moving a slider using the granular oscillator. Once the granular time rate is set to 0%, the control-driven envelope here is mapped to the oscillator sample start, which we have set to the maximum value. Firstly, this is the sample playing according to where my macro slider is positioned. As I move the slider, watch the envelope playhead move through the sample. The benefit of the control-driven envelope is to create a nonlinear map. Even though this envelope shape is actually linear, I maintain live control over the slider in whichever direction. Looking at the envelope window, you'll find that the control-driven envelope is scaled. You can see here when zoomed in, the playhead is moving along individual points. So using the grid in lock mode may be very helpful for adding multiple envelopes while maintaining an arbitrary scale. In my case, I'm sticking with the simple 4-second grid. Then I'll add a bandpass filter to create a sharp notch around 9 kHz. This envelope is also assigned to the same macro control slider. So what I initially intended to do was emphasize the bird frequencies with this bandpass filter. But given a high enough resonance, the sample will start resonating strongly on its own. The envelope I have is now a sweep with a small hat on the end of the curve. I made another envelope for the resonance so that it spikes up at the end. What we can do is sweep this rapidly with an LFO. Here I've got a filtered saw wave at a high rate applied to the channel volume and filter frequency. The filter frequency is flipped. And the LFO depth is assigned to the macro control. Additionally, we can vary the LFO rate with a second sine wave LFO to give some life. I had assigned a high-pass filter as normal. There are some additional effects mapped to this slider so that when the slider is turned up, there will be reverberation. How about we now assign it to a control envelope instead? I could create it into a simple switch by creating an envelope step shape. So we'll go up here, select Control, then we'll hold Command to select multiple envelopes. Now we can see them lined up. And right click to remove breakpoints. So beyond this point, there is basically no attack on the envelope. Then we can just drag a very sharp step, and then we have a switch. Remember, these envelopes can be any shape you like a pulse. We might have stepped beyond an interesting granular sample, so we could switch back to a sample loop for other variation. Overall, you can see how incredibly dynamic the control-driven envelope can be to macro controls when combined. The live possibilities are nearly endless.